Digital disruption coming to a smart kitchen near you. I'm Tonya Hall for ZDNet and Tech Republic, and joining me is Michael Wolf, founder of The Spoon and founder and lead curator of the Smart Kitchen Summit. Welcome, Mike.
I'm excited to be here.
So what is The Spoon and what is the Smart Kitchen Summit?
You know, I've been following the digital home for over a decade. I wrote a book about it in 2001. And around 5 years ago, I started thinking that the kitchen was where all the action was and the most exciting stuff. So I noticed these startups doing things like sous vide circulators, people bringing precision heating and cooking into the kitchen. And so I decided to start an event. And we started our first event in 2015, the Smart Kitchen Summit. And we had all these different people from the worlds of appliances, smart home tech, and retail and food come to Seattle and just get together and talk about it. And believe it or not, this had never happened before. So we had like all these big companies come. It was really exciting. About a year later, we started a publication called The Spoon. It's an editorial site all about food tech. My background's in publishing. I used to work at a big tech blog called GigHome, you may have heard of. So I decided, I did it backwards. I had the event first, and then I started the publication.
Well, you definitely have quite a strong background, and certainly food tech is going to be really interesting this year. In fact, you have some really big plans for CES. Tell us about Food Tech Live.
So I've gone to CES. You can see all my gray hair. I've been there 20 years in a row. The last 3 or 4 years, we've had happy hours for our little food tech community, and people have really enjoyed it. But I noticed at CES, like they would always put the food tech like in weird places, like in the smart home, or kind of wedged in next to like a lock company. And I thought this just isn't right. We need to get everyone together in one space. And so if you're familiar with CES, there's these things at night, usually these press events like PepCom or whatever. We decided to do a similar event for food tech. So we brought our community together. We have 40 companies doing everything from like really awesome like pizza cooking appliances to like, there'll be like a waiter robot. There'll be like cocktail robots. Lots of robots. There's a theme happening here. And we're just going to have like a lot of fun. So it'll be Tuesday night at the Treasure Island.
What companies are a part of your community, and can you name some of them?
Yeah. So, you know, we have a lot of the big appliance companies that oftentimes come to our events. They'll speak. They'll oftentimes have products on display. So like, you know, the Whirlpools of the world, Electroluxes of the world, a lot of startups. So one of the things I think people like about our community is we bring big companies together with innovators on the startup space. Traditionally, white good manufacturers and consumer electronics, or kind of appliance manufacturers, are kind of siloed off. They're trying to get into the world of innovation and understanding what's happening there, but oftentimes they're not directly communicating with startups in Silicon Valley or Seattle. So what we do is we bring the innovators together that are leading innovation teams at big consumer electronics companies, or big appliance companies, together with startups doing the next generation, like cooking artificial intelligence or really cool cooking tech. And so we'll have startups, you know, we have like food robot companies like Bear Robotics. We were actually the first ones to write about Bear Robotics. They have like a waiter robot. It's a really cool story. A guy who worked at Google he owned a restaurant. And he's like, you know, I'm getting tired of running back and forth delivering food. I'm just going to make a robot. And so he made a company out of it. We have Breville coming. They have this like really cool pizza cooking device that cooks pizza just like you get it in a restaurant in like 7 minutes. And they can do all these different crust types. So it'll be a lot of fun.
So it sounds like a good place then for developers to network with manufacturers. Is that correct?
Yeah. So developers of innovative technology, whether it's like the guy in the garage who has a patent because he had this really cool idea, to startups with venture funding, like $10 million at the bank, all the way up to kind of the big startups like Init, who've, you know, raised tens of millions of dollars. Those guys can interact with like guys who are leading innovation and leading new products at the big appliance companies. We also have retailers. We have companies like Amazon come. We have companies like Google. So it's a great mix. We oftentimes have an innovation showcase. And last year, the winner was a guy who had this company called Soggy Food Sucks. Like he literally was this inventor. He worked with Elon Musk company. He worked at a couple aerospace companies. And he decided that the lunches he was bringing to work were getting soggy. So he invented this like technology that actually keeps his food from getting soggy. He got it patented, and he brought it to our event, and like he won an award for it. And then he told me ever since he was at our event, his phone's been ringing off the hook. So we really do try to bring these innovators just doing cool stuff together with the big companies.
Tell us about some of your smart kitchen predictions for 2019. I mean, okay, is it really going to be a day when I'm not going to run out of milk and eggs?
I mean, I think that one of the big focuses has been this idea of like fairly anticipatory commerce. So you have the infrastructure being put in place over the past couple of years by the Amazons of the world, by Walmarts, by Apple, and by Google. They've been investing heavily in smart home technology, particularly Amazon. That's been a heavy focus on things like commerce as you look at their Amazon Dash platform. What I think has happened over the past year or two is it's been fairly pervasive, where we've had a lot of the infrastructure go into consumer homes through like 100 million or so Alexa devices and Google Home devices. And what they're trying to do now is really kind of connect that with existing appliances and have these devices anticipate your needs. So you may have something in your refrigerator running low on eggs, and Amazon's going to want to order for you. You may have like, you may not have ordered dinner. It's 4 o'clock at night. You have nothing planned. How do you figure out how to get food on on your dinner table quickly? So I think that all that kind of underlying infrastructure is coming into place to maybe do that fairly quickly. And so you have big appliance companies like Samsung, the Whirlpools of the world, building that in. I also think that we're moving beyond this world where initially over the last couple of years, it was about countertop appliances, because it's much easier to build a kind of a cool next generation countertop appliance. But one of the predictions for this year is I think that big appliance companies are going to start building cool next generation built-in appliances. So Whirlpool, it will be announcing like a really cool oven this year, where you actually have the oven door actually has a touchscreen on it and can play video. And there's also going to be some intelligence in the oven that understands what you're cooking. And so I think you're starting to see the big guys, the fruits of their research actually starting to come to fruition at this point.
You know, one of the things you and I talked about earlier was BreadBot and how grocery stores could really be more efficient and maybe replace some jobs with robot technology. Is that a trend that you see?
I think that there's a lot of interest in bringing automation and robotics, particularly into restaurants at this point and into food manufacturing. I think that the part of the problem, at least today in the US, is like we're having a fairly tight labor market. And so if you're an entrepreneur, you have a restaurant, it's actually really hard to find good people. They're high turnover jobs. So a lot of the applications of robotics today, one of the kind of the easy places to apply it is in back of house production for food, and also starting to see it in front of house. I do think that that'll be over time a bigger and bigger issue from a labor balance perspective. It'll be like a bigger political issue, but it's definitely like a really hot area of innovation right now. The world's first, what I would call like unicorn in terms of like robotics, food robotics, was Zoom. There's this company out of San Francisco. They do this robotic pizza delivery device, and they have an oven that actually cooks the oven in transit in this delivery vehicle. They have a pizza robot. They have $1 billion valuation based on their last funding round. So you're actually seeing a lot of innovation, a lot of money going to the space.
All right, you've mentioned pizza twice, Michael, and I really feel like there's a trend here for 2019. What part of the kitchen is most liable to experience a digital disruption in 2019?
I think that, we've clearly been seeing the digitization of the kitchen over the past couple of years in terms of just like interfaces, right? So you've seen hundreds of millions at this point, Alexa and Google Home devices come in. Everyone has started to move from the physical cookbook into the digital cookbook. What we're starting to see is these two things connect. And so this trend of what I call guided cooking is really going to take hold in 2019, where you want to learn how to cook, or you want to cook something. And instead of just like stumbling through it and not really knowing what to do, your cooking appliances and this cooking content will all kind of communicate with one another. So whether it's a recipe showing you step by step and connecting with your appliance, or you just kind of thumbing through an app and you're telling your Google Home what's the next step, all these things will start to work together. And so I think that's one of the big trends you'll see in 2019.
Michael Wolf, founder of The Spoon and founder and lead curator of the Smart Kitchen Summit. If somebody wants to connect with you, Michael, maybe they want to find out more about the work that you're doing, or maybe they want to catch up with you at CES, how can they do that?
Go to thespoon.tech and we'll be writing about everything that's happening at CES around food tech. And you can find me on Twitter at Michael Wolf.
Sounds good. And if you guys want to find me, you can find more of my interviews right here on ZDNet or Tech Republic, or go to my website, tonyahall.net, or find me on Twitter at @TonyaHallRadio. Thanks for watching.